This is pretty spur of the moment, and it's about Andor. So, but it's also about America. If you haven't seen all of Andor, probably should click off. The five of you who are watching. But I've been seeing some interesting developments in the world of the MAGA influencers who, maybe this is just all on Twitter, and I could be totally wrong. But the last few days, I've seen them really start to take turn against Congressional Republicans and Mike Johnson specifically for not codifying Trump's agenda. Basically, they want the House and the Senate to codify Trump's executive orders, many of which are probably illegal, and some of which have already been deemed to be illegal and unconstitutional, and what we know to be vast overreaches of executive authority that are not allowed in. Now, this is interesting parallel with Andor because I've seen some discourse about what ends up happening to Dedra and what happens to Partagaz and what eventually will happen to Krennic is that the Empire actually is what kills them or ruins their life. The Empire is what killed Cyril Karn. The rebels didn't do that. Luke Skywalker didn't do that. These people who committed their lives to the fascist authoritarian state were eventually eaten by that state. And that's the point. Syril truly believed in law and order and justice. He was not a bad person. He worked for the fascists because he believed that the empire was the best route to law and order in a chaotic galaxy. And eventually, and he was lied to because the fascist state was subverting what his expectation of justice was in order to do something unjust. And it was not until it was too late that he realized that he had been fooled and that he was a victim too of this authoritarianism, and he died for it. Dedra, who put him in that position, also dedicated her entire life to the fascist state. But remember, she grew up in what she calls an imperial kinderblock, which I have no idea what that actually is, but it sounds like basically she's an orphan being raised in like some government facility. She grows up brainwashed and believing in the empire again and the state as an all powerful, just force that she then dedicates her life to and is so dedicated that she wants to be right in finding access that she dies for it. Well, she doesn't die for it, but she ends up being thrown onto an Arcana 5 or 6 or whatever, a similar prison that Cassian was in, and will spend the rest of her life there for her choices in service of the Empire, and the Empire puts her in prison for that. As a traitor, too. And then we have Partagaz, next one up the chain, who kills himself rather than facing probably embarrassment, Darth Vader, the Emperor himself, whatever it is, some imprisonment, execution, for his failures for doing what he believed was in service of the Empire. And then finally, Krennic, who is at the top of the food chain in Andor. We know that eventually the monster that they've created will come for him. And the weapon of terror, of mass destruction that he helps to build is what will mercilessly kill him when Tarkin decides to blow up the base on Scarif. The rebels didn't kill these people. The Empire killed these people. Fascism killed these people. The monster that they created, as Mon Mothma says, killed these people. The thing that they gave their life to ended up turning on them because they were not aware that they were working for the leopards. They were inside the leopard's cage, and they thought the leopard was only going to eat the meat that was thrown at the leopard, but their meat too. And when the leopard gets tired of that meat, it's going to want more. And that is the true evil of fascism. It will come for you eventually. That is the evil of authoritarianism. It will come for you eventually because the only thing that matters is the person at the top. It's the whole point. So these congressional Republicans have benefited from Trumpism for 10 years. They've benefited from him riling up his MAGA supporters, his most insane, loudest, scariest supporters, whether they be white supremacists, Nazis, doesn't matter, because voters turn out to elect Republicans when Donald Trump is on the ballot. And they kept him around for that. They kept him around despite the allegations of sexual abuse, despite his own comments about his treatment of women, despite his lawsuits, despite his failed businesses, despite the failures of his first administration, despite his actions on January 6th to overthrow the government of the United States. They kept him around despite everything because they believed it was in their best interest. And now they are useless sycophants who will not be able to pass anything. If they get this big, beautiful bill, congratulations. Congratulations on cutting taxes for your buddies and ripping away Medicaid from poor people and old people. That will be your legacy. And let me just say, what happened, almost happened to Mike Pence, what they wanted to do to Mike Pence should have been a warning to you. They do not care about you. They care about one person, Donald Trump, the man at the top, as that is how fascism works. That is how authoritarianism works. And if you do not do what dear leader wants, they will come for you eventually. We're in the fight against them every single day. But at least we can see that there's a leopard across the aisle. It's sad that you're sitting right next to one and you couldn't see it. And you probably still don't see it. But you will. By then it'll be too late. And that's how Andor is reflective of our current world. Peace.